In today's video, we have some NHL trade talk around the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have several injury updates, including some significant players in the NHL. Are the Ottawa Senators for sale? Could the Coyotes' new arena situation be delayed by a public referendum? Plus, we have other news as well. All that coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and some trade talk to take a look at today. First up, there is no NHL waivers news today, so nobody's been placed on waivers, but we do have a signing. The Calgary Flames have signed one of their prospects from the 2021 NHL draft, and that's left winger Lucas Sima, who was a 6th round pick in 2021, 6'3", 210-pound winger from the Western Hockey League Seattle Thunderbirds. So he gets his 3-year entry-level contract with the Calgary Flames. The NHL announced today as well that Shea Pinto of the Ottawa Senators was the Rookie of the Month for the month of October, scoring 6 goals in 8 games. So he's certainly right now probably fair to say the front runner for the Calder Trophy, but there's lots of other great rookies in the NHL as well, and lots of time for the season to take place here to see who else is going to get themselves into that conversation. But after the first month of the season, he seems to be the guy to set the bar and to lead the way so far, but lots of hockey left. Interesting game in Buffalo last night on Halloween. We saw Tage Thompson with a 6-point effort. I know a lot of people question that long-term deal the Sabres gave him. I was a little skeptical myself, but the way he's been playing the last little while here for Buffalo, I got to say that the contract right now looks good. So good on them for getting in front of things. But he did tie a record in the NHL for most points on Halloween. He actually joins 2 longtime NHL legends, including Wayne Gretzky and the Flyers captain Bobby Clarke, as the only other players to have 6 points on a Halloween game. Kind of overshadows the fact as well that Jeff Skinner scored his 300th career NHL goal last night, which, Skinner's had a pretty solid career as well. Been around the league now for some time, going on 12 years, coming up on 900 games played, all with the Carolina Hurricanes and Buffalo Sabres. So with all those goals, he obviously got a long-term, big money deal, made tons of money, lots of games. But the real interesting thing about Jeff Skinner's career so far is he's yet to play an NHL playoff game. So will this be the year? Will Buffalo get it done? I think they're trending in that direction. It's hard to say if it happens this year because it's so early in the season. But at the very least, they're trending to be much better. I think they'll be in the playoffs sooner than later. Exactly when that takes place, but soon, I'm sure. The Maple Leafs have made some roster updates today as well, demoting Wayne Simmonds down to the minors. I'm not sure if he's actually going to report to the Marlies or if it's more of a paper transaction for the time being. I think they'll probably kind of wait and see. But they have called up forward Pontus Holmberg, so he'll be getting an NHL opportunity here shortly as well. Of course, they take on the Flyers tomorrow after their disastrous road trip through California and Vegas, where they've come up short on their last 4 games. So be interesting to see how the Leafs respond to begin their next home game here against Philadelphia. And a couple of NHL teams when it comes to some either being for sale or the arena situations. We'll start with Arizona. We do know, as we talked about before, that there's supposed to be a city council vote for the Tempe Arena project around the November 29th date. I know Craig Morgan of Phoenix Sports, who covers the Coyotes closely, had mentioned that it could even possibly come sooner, but that's the date they were targeting. But the other information that came from this as well is there's also talk in one of Craig Morgan's recent columns here that there could also be a public local referendum as part of this too, that could take place in 2023. And it's all it says. It doesn't give a more definitive timeline. So even if city council votes yes at the end of this month, it still could be some time before we really have a little bit more clear-cut movement with, shovels in the ground type of thing. There's also some concerns that some of the, concerns or the groups that are opposed to this project, because there is some opposition to this. I think for the most part, listening to what I've kind of gathered from the locals and all the different reports, it sounds like there's a fair bit of support for this arena project and entertainment district in Tempe. So I do think there's a good chance of it moving forward. But there is definitely some opposition, and there's some concerns that there could be lawsuits from some of the opposition, perhaps possibly the airport authority. That could be one of the issues there. And if this local referendum has to be a public vote of yes, when in 2023 is this going to take place? They didn't really put a timeline. What if it's late 2023? Doesn't mean it will prevent the project from moving forward. but it could add significant delays. I mean, the land itself that would be used for this project, for this new arena, needs a lot of work done and cleaned up to it as well before they can even start building the arena. So I guess there's definitely some concerns within NHL circles of, could they run into some obstacles that might be problematic, and could there be, even if it works out, significant delays? Because I know I've seen some positive reports so far about Mullet Arena at ASU for the Coyotes. I've seen some not so great reports as well from fans. Some NHL players said the ice was really good, but I've seen some that have been not so complimentary on the dressing room area. I've seen a few fans say it was a great experience, and I've seen some fans say it was a horrible experience, that the food vendors can't keep up, and the seating is mostly like bench style seating, so it's not up to the standards of NHL, but at least if you visit a lot of other arenas for what you're used to. So I don't know, it seems to be, like I said, a lot of positives, but there's definitely some concerns there. So a situation we'll have to monitor closely. We did get a report today from Sportico with the latest round of NHL valuations, and there was a very interesting nugget in this report saying that the Ottawa Senators were for sale. And then I've seen other reports confirming that the Ottawa Senators have partnered with a bank to explore the sale of the team. Of course, we know Eugene Melnyk passed away earlier this year. The team is now in control in the hands of his two daughters, who are both under the age of 25, as well as, obviously there's like a committee or, that handle his estate that are also, signing off on things and signing the checks, etc. as well, that are kind of help oversee things here. A couple of key other tidbits from this report, including the top 5 teams for valuation. I'll show you the top 10 here, but I'm not going to talk about them all. The Leafs and the Rangers are the highest valued teams, over $2 billion now. The Habs were next at $1.7 billion. The Hawks and Bruins were $1.4 billion, whereas the value of the Senators was estimated at $655 million, which might seem significantly lower, but it is up 21% since the last time these valuations were put out to the public. So that's a big jump. Obviously, ticket sales have been, it could be a little bit better in Ottawa, but they're up so significantly. Season tickets are up significantly. The on-ice product is improving. Lots of optimism. Of course, the bid for the LeBreton Flats new arena is moving forward so far. Everything's been very positive and accepted there. It's like I said, same with Arizona, it's not a done deal. There's still potential, always potential stumbling blocks you could run into, but so far everything's looking very good, very positive. So, I guess some people are saying basically that, which makes good sense from a business perspective for the young Melnyk girls, to improve things as much as they can, boost the value, and then sell the team if they're going to. I don't know that they would completely sell 100% of it. I wouldn't be shocked if they do retain a minority stake to keep it in the family, because I know that was, I believe, from what we've been told and heard, that part of Eugene Melnyk's wishes, and we'll see if they honor what their father wanted. I know they obviously took quite a liking to the team, and a big interest long before he passed away when they were younger too. So I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if they have some kind of a role in some kind of a minority stake or something to that effect. There's tons of interest in the team to keep it in Ottawa and other ownership groups, so they definitely won't have an issue. And if the sale does indeed take place in the near future, I would suspect it's likely going to go much more than $655 million, especially with the new arena progressing the way it is, right? You throw that in the mix, and they'll easily probably get up, get that value up much, much higher. I wouldn't be shocked if it's $750 to $800 million by the time we're all said and done. Still got a ways to go before it'll join the billion club, but a lot of these other NHL clubs. But the average value now with all the other teams that are $1 billion or more has hit the $1 billion mark. So that's certainly interesting and good for the owners, that's for sure. But very interesting reports today, kind of confirming that to some degree. I don't know if it's fair to say that the Sens are actively for sale, but they're definitely, like I said, partnering with the right people to explore the idea and kind of get ready for it. I think they'll wait a little longer though before they really push this to be able to boost the value up as the further along the arena situation is in, and we'll see where that goes. But obviously lots of interesting news there. Definitely some big news on the injury front today. We got several reports, including Connor Brown of the Capitals, former Senator, former Leaf, is going to be out for a long time. His season's effectively over. In this recovery will even cut into next offseason. We knew he was out with a serious injury that was going to possibly keep him out for the year. Now we know for sure that he had to have ACL surgery, and they're estimating a 6 to 8 month recovery time. So it's a big surgery. It's a big recovery time. I know he's a really fast skater, so we'll see how this impacts him moving forward. Hopefully he can come back. He's also a pending unrestricted free agent, so it's a brutal time for him to run into this type of injury. There's never a good time for it, of course, but when you're in a contract year, it certainly doesn't help matters. That's for sure, especially if he's unable to make it back and play at all this year to show teams that he's fully recovered and good to go, which is unfortunate for him. So certainly want to wish Connor Brown a speedy recovery. Andre Palat of the Devils is going to be out for an extended time. They haven't put a definitive timeline on it. They're just calling it indefinite right now, but he had to have groin surgery. So that to me doesn't sound like anything that's going to be super long term, but not super quick either. So we'll see how long Palat is out, but that's not good news, of course, for the New Jersey Devils, who have been rolling pretty good lately. And the Jets defenseman Logan Stanley is going to be out for at least a few weeks as well. There was concern it could be much longer, but he is dealing with a foot fracture. So they were, I think, worried it was going to be months, not weeks, but sounds like it won't be too bad on that front. Now, when it comes to some potential trades and things that we could see coming up here, look at Montreal, for example. A lot of questions in Habs land right now about Evgeny Dadonov. Dadonov was a healthy scratch recently, and then he suddenly has not been at practice, and they've been calling it maintenance days. So there's some that are wondering if they're trying to move him, whether it be through trade, possibly even through waivers. Obviously, they have Joel Edmondson, who's going to be looking to come back here shortly. They're going to need a roster spot. They're going to have to free up some room. He seems to be one of the most likely candidates that's going to have to find a way to go to make that happen. Now, tonight as well, Mike Hoffman is scheduled to be a scratch tonight as well. So we know that he hasn't had a great start to the season, and there are definitely two players that Montreal would definitely like to move on from. But of course, when you're not playing a lot and you're not playing well and you're making a decent amount of money, and in the case of Hoffman, he still has an extra year in the contract, that might prove difficult to trade without adding a sweetener to it, which I know it's something that the Habs have been reluctant to do, and I don't entirely blame them. But you have to wonder what they might be able to do here. If they put them both on waivers, they could be demoted. They could get a little bit of cap relief. They could get a roster spot opened up. But it's just interesting to see how they handle things here. Other players like Jonathan Drouin, I think his time is coming to a close as well. They also have an abundance of forwards. So it's been clear so far that it seems like they're keeping Slafkovsky in Montreal. He has gotten a little bit better after a slow start to his rookie season. But, these other guys are kind of taking up some room and some cap space that they'd like to do other things with. So it'll be interesting to see how the Habs do this. But guys like Hoffman and Dadonov, I don't think are going to be in Montreal for too much longer. It'll be interesting to see how, but they can find a move, though, to move them out. That's going to be the hard part. In the Leafs situation, we talked a great deal about the Leafs yesterday, and if some big moves are coming, I think it's going to be a little bit before we see anything substantial. I think the home game they have tomorrow night against Philadelphia will be big. If they get themselves on a bit of a roll going the other way with some victories at home, maybe things will calm down and they'll kind of take a collective sigh of relief and kind of hold off from making any rash moves here. But, one thing we could see soon is struggling defensemen, maybe Justin Hall finally get his ticket out of Toronto. At least that's what some are thinking here, based on the rumor mill with guys like Timothy Liljegren and Jordy Ben both returning soon. That'll give them some extra defensemen who can play that right side, which will kind of create a little bit more of a flexibility to move a guy like Hall. For the most part, he's been the only right shot D in the lineup for a lot of the games he's been in, which is also very much problematic as well. So we know that the Leafs are struggling. They're not scoring enough 5-on-5. Their top guys are not really, they're not having horrible years, but they're not exactly hitting the career years like a lot of them did last year, and they're not getting the support from the secondary scoring to kind of keep things going. It's just that simple. The way this team is built is they have to rely heavily on their star players. And like I said, Sheldon Keefe has called them out a few times. Be interesting to see how they respond and how they do in the blue line. But part of that blue line deal is that not only do they have to defend, but they have to get that puck up to the forward so they can do their thing. And that might be part of the issue as well. So Justin Hall, like I said, he's been there a long time, has had his moments, been a lightning rod at times, and he's also been a guy that's obviously at the same time is he seems to be hot and cold with the fans and how they feel about him and how things are going. Not the quickest guy, and he's been a turnover machine lately, so something has to give there. And I do wonder with these returning players, the fact that they're going to have to find, especially for Liljegren, they got to find the space to get him in the lineup, and with a struggling player like Hall on his final year of his deal, making $2 million, Can they find a way to ship him out of town for... They don't even need much of a return, really, just to move the contract. So we'll see what happens, but wouldn't be surprised if we see some moves between Montreal and Toronto here in the coming days. So let me know your thoughts on everything discussed today down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.